So if you are considering moving on from your job or finding a bigger one, if you are successful, at some point you will need to hand in your notice and quit. I have done this a lot as I've progressed through my career in leadership for the last 18 years, and I have learned a few tips on how to do it well. Quitting is not always a bad thing either. Sometimes it's the most powerful move that you can make. So let's explore when to quit and how to do it effectively. As Annie Jerk argues in her book Quit, quitting is often just as important as perseverance. We often hear stories about persistence, but rarely about the strategic power of quitting. And often we wait too long to make that decision. I remember one role that I had for 5 years, which was probably 2 years too long. I was finishing my master's degree while working and had decided in my head that I couldn't handle finding another job and doing my master's. But I was pretty unhappy, and I do think it held me back by not making a move sooner in that situation. Now, there are situations where quitting is not a choice, such as layoffs or escaping a toxic environment. But when you do have a choice, how do you know when it's time? Here are a few key indicators that I have found. The first one is to leave before it's bad. Don't wait till you're burnt out, resentful, or completely miserable. Leaving while things are still relatively good allows you to maintain relationships and preserve your well-being. As they say, leave the party while you're still having fun, especially if you see the winds changing. Trust your instincts. So consider how you're feeling about your job and whether you're starting to get that deep feeling of it not being right for you anymore. Another tip around knowing when it's time to quit is if guilt is holding you back. It's easy to feel guilty about leaving, worrying about the others left behind and how they will cope, but often you're overestimating your own importance and underestimating others' abilities. If you're facing the choice between guilt and resentment, choose guilt. Resentment will eat you up inside, because if you're thinking, I can't leave because they won't be able to replace me, or it means leaving my colleagues in the lurch, then eventually if you stay, you're going to get resentful over that decision because you know that you should have left. Setting good boundaries is key here. You're not responsible for how other people will feel about your decision. Another tip is to be willing to leave a good situation. This is the hardest part. Like trimming a rose bush, sometimes you need to cut away perfectly healthy buds to let the new ones flourish. This is about really stretching yourself. You might be really great in your current role and it's all going really well, but you also kind of feel like you're underutilized and maybe not really challenged. Staying put can mean that you miss the opportunity to push yourself to the next level, and saying yes to a good thing could mean saying no to a really great thing. So if you've decided to quit, here's how to do it with grace and integrity. First of all, tell people that you're going. Don't sneak away. Be open and honest with the people that matter. Quitting is not shameful. Do it appropriately too. If you're in a leadership role, there will be people that you want to meet and tell before others hear about it. Once I had told my boss and my close colleagues, I would then immediately tell my direct team so that they didn't hear it from anybody else. Tip 2 is to give people time and the space to process. Remember, you've been thinking about this for a while. Give others the time to adjust to the news, and don't overthink their initial reactions. So for example, if you've been preparing yourself for a shift, you might have searched and found a job, put in an application, had an interview, and then been successful, all of which could have occurred over months. So you have fully adjusted in your own mind that you're leaving. Everyone else has had no prep, so we'll be surprised, so be prepared for that. Tip 3, if you are quitting, not because you have a new job, but because you've just decided that it's right for you, don't feel pressure to have justified the next step to everybody. You don't need to have everything figured out before you leave, and you don't need to tell everybody that you haven't got everything figured out if you're not comfortable doing so. It's okay to create space to explore your options if quitting is the right thing for you to do. In this situation, you may want to consider what it is you're going to say to everybody if you don't want to be truly open and transparent about why you're leaving. Tip 4, which is one of the most important, work right until the end with enthusiasm and respect. Don't check out early. Finish strong and maintain all those relationships that you've built over the time you've been there. I keep this really front of mind when I'm moving on because I know it's a real challenge to stay focused when I'm also partly thinking about the next step. But I never know when I'm going to encounter people again. It could be that I want to come back to the organisation. It could be that they're on the other side of an interview table in the future. You never really know. And if something does come up and you encounter these people again, you want to have left yourself with a great reputation and not burnt any bridges. Remember, you don't have to martyr yourself. You don't need to have the perfect next step to justify quitting. Sometimes you just know it's time. Trust your instincts. As Annie Jerk said, success does not lie in sticking to things. It lies in picking the right thing to stick to and quitting the rest. What are your thoughts on quitting? Share in the comments below, and thanks very much for watching.